feel like there's been a general understanding between all of us Persona fans that Persona 1, 2, and 3 need a remake. But out of the three, which one of them needs the remake the most? Persona 1 and 2 are old games that came out before 99% of Persona fans were even born, and the first came out on the PS1. Eventually, Persona 1 and 2 were remade for the PSP and the PS1 versions no one wanted to touch because of how outdated they are. And do these games have any significance as franchise anymore besides the protagonist faces being used for marketing for P25th? No. Persona 1 is nothing like the way Persona is today. It's more like your typical mainline SMT game. One problem I had with Persona 1 was the RAM encounters. It felt like every two steps you would be in another battle. At first I didn't mind it. I was open to this game just vibing. I mean the PSP version has lone parent school days in its OST, so everything was fine at first. Later on, though, it just feels like torture. This is more like your typical problem with RAM encounters in any game, though. Just now I mentioned some songs from Persona 1. What if I told you that there are many people who actually prefer many more songs from the PS1 version instead? Which one would Alice have to go with if they ever remade this game? I would say just drop all the bad songs and pick the best music in both versions and just put them in their remake. Another problem I have with Persona 1 is that it has some of the worst dungeons known to mankind in this game. Public enemy number one being Kama's Palace, where when you reach the end for the first time, you gotta go back and do it all over again, and it was a really confusing labyrinth, and it was torture. My last problem I have with Persona 1 are the characters. Your main party is the protagonist, Maki, Nanjo, Masao, and the fifth member of the party, you get to choose between Brown, Erica, some blonde girl Oziak likes a lot, the dude with scars on his face you have to unlock in a very specific way, and Yukino, but she's only available in the Snow Queen round. Whoever you choose essentially eliminates the rest from the story, and you never get to see them again. That's like 4 or 5 characters you never get to know. So yeah, Persona 1 are characters are pretty forgettable. The problem with Persona 2 is that it has two parts, Persona 2 Innocent Sin and Persona 2 Eternal Punishment. The PSP version of Eternal Punishment never came out anywhere outside of Japan, and therefore you can only play the game in Japanese. So if you want to play Eternal Punishment in English, have fun with the PS1 version. There was a fan translation thing that happened like a while ago for the Eternal Punishment PSP, but I have no idea if I ever get finished. It was trending on Twitter one day and big discussion. I have no idea what it was about because I didn't care for it and I don't know what happened with it. If it did well, good job. But I haven't seen people get in the game regardless. In terms of the battle system, not only is it slow, but many people, including me, also had a problem with all the menu hopping that's done in Persona 2. But not only did the battles have a million menus that will pop up, but there's a million skills you can't even tell what some of them are because the abbreviations are like trash. Like where were the devs thinking when they made this combat system? After doing some research, there are apparently 5 physical types, 2 types of status moves, 9 elements, plus almighty attacks. These are some of the reasons why I dropped Persona 2, and it remains the only Persona game I haven't beaten, including Eternal Punishment as well. The furthest I got before I quit playing the game was the Aquarius Temple. It was like the second temple I had left, and I just said, nah, I'm done. Vanilla Persona 3 originally came out on the PS2, which no one cares about because then the superior version, Persona 3 Fez, which introduced stuff like Walking Koromaru, Elizabeth's Quest, the Lucifer Sword, Messiah Armor, and the Answer, which tortures you and gives you lore about what happened to Persona 3 protagonists and what happened after the events of the journey. Persona 3 Portable introduces another protagonist, Femc, which has a few different social links, like all the guys in C's, a bit more seen through Yoji, and a controllable party. The problem with Persona 3 Portable outside of it being a visual novel is that it doesn't have the answer. I'm pretty sure the reason why the Persona 3 Portable doesn't have the answer is because it would take up too much space. Instead of the answer, Persona 3 Portable has the Vision Quest Chamber. It's just the abyss of time from the answer. In the Vision Quest Chamber, there are challenges for you to do, and Margaret is there as an optional boss for you to fight. Persona 3 really has no definitive version of the game. Both Fez and Portable come with its pros and cons. It's really up to the player to decide which one they prefer to play. Portable is more accessible now due to the port that recently came out, which sucks, and it is now available on all modern consoles. Now, after hearing all the problems with each game that I have, I will now list the benefits of remaking each game. Persona 1 is the first Persona game. No one mentioned SMTF. So, like many people, they all want to know how everything really began. Persona 1 introduces a very important character to this series, Philemon. He's basically the Igor before Igor in Persona 1 and 2. While we're on the topic of characters, let's talk about Persona 1's protagonist, Naoya. Or should I say Yuya? or Jaihi. I don't know how to say that. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, maybe a boy with earring. The Persona 1 protagonist remains to be the only Persona protagonist without a canon name, because Persona 3 protagonist they literally just gone with the ports. It's Makoto Yuki and Kotone Xiaomi, which I've been saying for like the past 2 years. If this game gets a remake, he may finally get one. The last benefit for remaking Persona 1 is that the story is actually pretty cool. You have two routes you can do. Seabeck, which is the main one that revolves around Maki, and the Snow Queen route. Basically, the Snow Queen round it has like some mask which has a spirit in it, and when you wear it, you get possessed. So it's basically Persona 5 gone wrong. I don't recall something like this ever being done in Persona ever again, where you had like two routes you can choose. I feel like the closest we got to this was Femc in Persona 3 Portable, but it's nothing compared to what Persona 1 did. I'll keep the benefits to why Persona 2 should get a remake fairly short because I haven't beaten the game and I know a lot of people love it. It's like my least, it's I dropped it, but it's my least favorite Persona game. But the game has some of the best characters and one of the best stories the series ever had. I think the rumor system or just the rumors concept in general are very unique and a cool concept. If a remake fixes the problems I mentioned earlier, basically a complete overhaul of the combat system, then I'm all for a remake for this game. Persona 2 is also one of the most popular Persona games, and it's also like one of the most demanded games for a remake, alongside with Persona 3 being like number one. Persona 3 needs a definitive version, and with a remake, this could be possible. It is also probably the most beloved Persona game in general, so you already know Alice will be rolling in money if they ever remake this game. Along with this, there are many people, not including me, who feel like Tartarus is too boring, and with a remake, Alice could find a way to improve on it. I don't think this way because I feel like Tartarus makes Persona 3 like the most replayable Persona game because I feel like it's so simple. You just go upstairs and I can just do that a million times. I don't care. I played the game like 5 times. I love Tartarus. I won't do Persona 5 Palaces 20 times. I get sick of them after like the third time. Also, Persona, the most accessible version of this game is Persona 3 Portable, and the port is a mess. So lastly, what is my answer? Which Persona game needs a remake the most? Now, if I got to choose, it would be obviously be Persona 3. Persona 3 is my favorite game of all time, so it's a no-brainer for me. But the question is, which Persona game needs a remake the most? Persona 3 is way more accessible now since Portable is available on all modern platforms. Persona 1 and 2 you still need to emulate if you want to play them. When it comes to Persona 1, I just can't picture this game in 2023 with something like the Persona 5 engine. I think it should be like something we leave in the past. I feel like the PSP version of the game is perfectly fine, which is something that's not the case for Persona 2, because the gameplay still feels very bad, and Eternal Punishment is only in Japanese for the PSP version. So I feel like Persona 2 needs a remake the most, and if it does get a remake, I'll be willing to give the game another shot.